whatever that actually means. Um, so a fresh batch of tariffs will be distributed like candy to 10 or 15 countries, is what Donald Trump has alluded to uh, recently. And what does that mean for the average American citizen, the regular 9 to 5, the person that just goes to work and comes home? And Whoopi, what up, Whoopi? Good to see you, Whoopster. Welcome, welcome. It has been a while. You're absolutely right about that. It has been a while. It has been a while. But I'm back. And I'll get into that in a little bit. It's always good to see you. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. But yeah, these tariffs, man, these tariffs that are just being handed out. Here, you get a tariff, you get a tariff. Remember when Oprah used to have like the Oprah Winfrey show? And it's like, you get a car, you get a car, you get a just handing out tariffs to countries. And what does that mean for the average consumer, for the regular everyday American? Well, the Trump administration and Donald Trump ran on bringing prices lower, right? So bringing down prices was the reason, was Donald Trump's one of the main reasons why people, quote unquote, voted for him or wanted him to give me 1 second, or wanted him to win this election. But the tariffs are not going to bring costs down. They're not going to bring prices down. They're not going to bring costs down. As a matter of fact, they're going to do the absolute opposite, right? So instead of prices going down, prices for goods are going to go up, right? Because now, when you're shipping things into a country and you have to pay an additional tax, the businesses that are bringing those goods in are not 9.99 times out of 10 are not going to absorb the extra cost, right? So the extra cost is not going to go to the business. The extra cost is going to go to the consumer. Now, evidently, this is going to be something that happens at midnight tonight. I'm not entirely sure, but I was just watching Bloomberg, like the first, I believe, 5 minutes or so, and they were kind of alluding to that it's going to go into effect at midnight. Don't necessarily know exactly what that means. Don't know if it's really going to take effect at midnight, um, because I haven't really been following it as closely as I should have. But one of the biggest reasons why I've started following it is because I have started to get back into the stock market. I have been kind of viewing a few stocks that I really, really do like, and I've been continually buying those stocks. How you doing, David? Maybe I don't know anything about economics, but how are tariffs going to benefit the U.S.? Seems like it would be just weaken trade. Tariffs. So basically, I guess their ideology, I guess the way that he's viewing it, right? If imported goods are more expensive, right? In which it's really boneheaded, but this is the way that they view it. If imported goods and goods from other countries are more expensive, then what it would mean is that the average consumer would buy American products, right? But you forget to account the fact that we still import a lot of material to create these goods, right? In America. So there's still going to be um the price is still going to affect the consumers regardless of if it's made in America or not, because businesses are still going to need to import things in order to make these products, right? Those idiots don't understand that there is not a single car company that makes or assembles their cars 100% here. That's Ishmael Lopez. You're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right about that. 100% of 100% of the car is not assembled here. And a lot of the material is not from here. We have to import a lot of this material. Um, so yeah, it's definitely going to affect us in a negative way. And the crazy thing is it goes back to this, right? Donald Trump ran on bringing the cost of groceries down. Donald Trump said that he was going to bring groceries down on day one. He's going to bring prices down on day one. And that the stock market was going to go up because he's Donald Trump, right? And the reason why the stock market started to go up last year was because they were anticipating Donald Trump becoming the next president. But there's a lot of things that the American people did not ask for, right? And maybe even the most diehard MAGA fans, maybe even the most diehard cult members that are involved in MAGA did not sign up to invade Greenland, in which they've been kind of alluding to, they've been insinuating that these are the things that are going to happen, and sort of mentioning that it's a matter of national security. Um, but I think people that yeah, sorry about that. Somebody was trying to call me just now, so I had to sort of respond to that. Um, I do not look like Kendrick Lamar, but shouts to Kendrick Lamar. But yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot where exactly I was. Did you see the interview where he said that this day one promises were just sarcasm? I vaguely do remember when he said that. I do remember that he said that, that it was just sarcasm. But again, it's it's not sarcasm. How long does it take you to get to work with traffic? Um, yeah, so I'm sorry about that. Messages are coming in. I got to type to my laptop. Yeah. So yeah, so when you use the term, "Oh, I'm being sarcastic," or it's just sarcasm, right? Here's the thing: when you tell over 30,000 lies, right, and these are the ones that were just recorded, like these are the ones that were publicly sort of recorded and known by the public. When you tell over 30,000 lies in one presidential term, right? It's very difficult to decipher with um what's sarcasm or what's not sarcasm, right? I don't think he even knows what sarcasm is. um I think he just says whatever comes to his mind and does not care about the consequences, nor is he often held responsible for a lot of things that he does say. I think a lot of his base really eats up a lot of the boneheaded things that he does say. And then I think a lot of people tend to be a little scared to criticize him because they are afraid of what he may do, right? Because we see that this is a guy that really he does not really accept criticism well, right? And when you're the president of the United States, you have to be able to take constructive criticism, right? The people are criticizing you not simply because they want you to do bad, right? But because you were elected to be the leader of the people, and being the leader of the people, what are you doing for the people? Like, how is it that this group of people are suffering, or this group of people are isolated, or this group of people don't feel as if they're involved in the process, right? And I think I don't believe that Donald Trump has the best interest of the working class. And we kind of went over that when the election was going on. We went over the fact that he doesn't want to raise minimum wage. We went over so many different things. The fact that he didn't want to pay a lot of the people, the contractors. How Mark Cuban spoke about a lot of people that he stiffed, and just basically just the type of individual that we're dealing with. Like, we've seen so many things happen with this administration, um and had it been Democrats, had it been Hillary Clinton that was involved in the situation last week with Pete Hegseth, um, and them leaking the war plans to a reporter, I think the right wing would have been up in arms, right? I don't think, as a matter of fact, they would, right? Because we've seen it in the past. Them wanting Hillary Clinton to go to jail for some emails, right? We've seen that sort of stuff happen in the past. Um, but yeah, so when it comes down to law and order, I think people sort of allow the ones that they like. It's like they don't really care if they're breaking the law as long as they like them, right? So everybody, it's very difficult to hold everyone at the same standard because of that political bias that they have, right? And now, had the Republicans or whoever it is that's in the White House been doing a good job or doing a job for all people in America, and I really see where they're actually making some changes and making some things happen for everyone, or for not just a specific group of people, and kind of isolating and alienating everyone else, then I would give credit where it's due. But I see a lot of things that happen and a lot of things that have happened in this administration where it's just boneheaded, right? And look, so here's the thing. So a lot of things were blamed on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And to be completely honest with you, I would rather have DEI in place of just hiring someone just because you like that person, someone that's not qualified. And in this administration, there are not many qualified people, if any, qualified people in this administration. And it shows when you're leaking war plans to a reporter, when you're leaking classified information to a reporter. It shows this is classified information. You need a certain level of security clearance in order to know about this information, yet you now know this information. And anyone else would be held to a different standard. And so you talk about DEI. I've never seen where a DEI quote unquote hire or someone else that and here's the thing about DEI. I think when people think DEI, when people say DEI, they allude to black people. But understand that black people are not the main beneficiary of DEI hires. Um, but at the same time, whenever they say that, they're referring to diversity, right? It's diversity is their biggest problem, not incompetence, not malpractice, not corruption. It's diversity. Why is diversity your biggest problem? And I'll never be able to wrap my head around that. I never will. Right? Because on one hand, they want to talk about, oh, let's get people who are qualified. Let's try to get people who are the most qualified, and it should be based on their merit. And on the other hand, you're hiring idiots, complete idiots. And here's the thing: no one is handing out opportunities to minorities. No one is handing out opportunities to minorities. As a matter of fact, if you're a minority, in order for you to even get notice, you better be outperforming the best, right, person, whether it be in a company, whether it, in politics, whatever. You better be 3 or 4 times better than that person in order to get notice. That means whatever it is that you do, you have to eat, sleep, wake up, and do it again, right? So all of this stuff about DEI, when you look at both of the candidates, right, and you look at, and I hate to kind of roll it back a little bit, but if you look at Kamala Harris and her being in politics basically her whole entire adult life, right? She wasn't on The Apprentice. She wasn't a scam artist from New York, right? And basically going through all of the stages and working her way into becoming the first female vice president in America. in American history, right? And that's a big deal, right? What the right wing does is they try to create narratives, right? So all of these narratives that they create, and people who are uninitiated, people are who are by default or by choice completely ignorant, choose to believe a lot of the things that these people are saying. So whatever narrative, oh, one of the things that they used to say, oh, she slept her way to the top. No, she did not sleep her way to the top. And what was preventing anyone else from sleeping their way into position? What's so special about her that she was able to sleep? That's false, right? Create other narratives. Oh, she's not black. Her father's black, her mother's Indian, and that's okay. It's okay to be mixed, right? We all have different races in our background. All of us. Well, the vast majority of us anyway. You understand what I'm saying? I don't see anything wrong with that. And I could vouch with my last name being Harris and my roots being in Jamaica as well as Kamala Harris. I don't know too many Indian people with the last name Harris in Jamaica, right? But all of these narratives are sort of, they create all these narratives of what did she do when she was the vice president? How come she didn't do this? What's JD Vance doing? What can JD Vance do? If you haven't noticed, like as far as JD Vance goes, like he doesn't have a mind of his own, right? He doesn't have a mind of his own. JD Vance goes with whatever Trump wants, basically. This guy went from being a never Trumper, oh, I'm a never Trumper. I'm not voting for Donald Trump. So all of a sudden, for his political career, hitting a complete 360 or 180, right? Opposite. It's not a 360 because he would end up in the same position, right? But hitting a complete 180, right? Standing on this side, now he's standing on this side. And is now Trump's biggest fan. As far as he tries to put, I think, hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah. So I don't, I don't want to sit up here and I don't think these people are unintelligent. I just think they're just not aware of themselves. I think they really lack a lot of self awareness. JD Vance is not the only one. Trump is another one. Elon Musk is another one as well. Either they lack awareness or they simply do not care. How they're coming across, and it seems, guys, like it really seems as if the people that we have in charge in this country, it seems as if we have a bunch of sociopaths. Um, yeah, sorry about that. Sometimes with this noise cancellation thing, it just kind of, um, yeah, I can't really describe it, but you kind of hear like this ring in your ear sometimes. Um, but yeah, it seems as if, yeah, it seems as if we have a bunch of and I'm not here to say that everybody that was in charge was a good person or this, that, and the third before Donald Trump. I'm not here to say any of that sort of stuff. Um, but in modern times, a lot of things that we are seeing, uh, we've taken so many steps back as far as since this administration has, um, you know, come to the forefront or has been in charge. We've taken so many steps back that it almost seems as if we're back in the 1940s in a way. And there have been so many generations and so many sacrifices made by so many people, right, for us not to be in this position, right? And you hate to see it. You really hate to see it because things are supposed to be progressing in a way where they're getting better, not getting worse. You understand what I'm saying? Like we want things to get better, right? For everyone. And I just I don't understand for the life of me why there are people that feel as if everyone else should bow down to them. Where there are people that feel as if um, you know, they want all the resources and they want all the things and everyone else should just be uh to just starve. You know what I mean? Like I can't for the life of me understand that. I can't understand why billionaires who have more than enough are simply not satisfied. Simply not satisfied. Like what more do you want? And it's all fine and dandy to want more, I guess, right? But not at the expense of everyone else, you know what I mean? Not at the expense of everyone else. Not at the expense of everyone else. And I heard, that Elon Musk has decided that he's going to step down. He's stepping down from Doge, right? And I'm guessing this is amidst a lot of pressure from protesters and a lot of pressure from shareholders, a lot of pressure from all types of different angles, all sorts of different angles that he's stepping down from Doge. But does that mean that he's stepping away from politics? I highly, highly doubt that he will be stepping away from politics. But you know, giving out $1 million in was it Wisconsin, sort of like how he did it in Pennsylvania the other day, right? And not really being held as accountable as he should be held to the same standards as everyone else. Like it's just, everyone is seeing as clear as day that this is just corruption. This is broad daylight corruption. But who's holding these people accountable? Why are they not held accountable? Why are the laws enforced on some people, but for others, it's as if the laws don't exist? Why is that? Then why should some people follow the law but others shouldn't? You know what I mean? I just don't understand that. I really do not understand that because I heard a story of someone offering a bottle of water to someone for someone to vote, and then ended up serving time for that. And I'm not sure if that's a true story or a false story, but I did hear that story last year, around the election time. But when you kind of look at situations like that, where someone is offering someone a bottle of water to vote, and then someone offering $1 million with with cameras, right, around and broadcasted nationwide, and nothing really happening to that person, it's like, yo, what are we doing here? What exactly is going on here? Um, yeah, so that's my main thing, man. I just the same standard. You know, I just want equality, bruh. That's it. The same standard. You understand what I'm saying? The same standard. You're held to the same standard as this person, right? That way, we can actually really, really respect the law. We can really, really respect the rule of law because now we realize that, hey, hold on. Everyone is held to the same exact standards, right? And then we see whereas a felon was able to run for president. I never seen anything like that. Imagine being black and being a felon and even voting. I saw Trump at the booth voting. I didn't even know. Honestly, I didn't even know that the president could actually vote for himself when he was. I didn't know that, or somebody that's a presidential elect or president elect could actually vote. I didn't know that. Honestly, did not know that. Someone said we have equality, it's lack of business knowledge. I'm not entirely sure what it is that you're saying about lack of business knowledge. I don't think it's a lack of business knowledge, brother. Um Inequality is as clear as day in this country. And we see how with the DEI they tried to remove Jackie Robinson you know, uh, from history. They basically tried to wipe him out of history. Like Jackie Robinson actually served in the military. Jackie Robinson was the first, you know, Major League Baseball player that was African American. Like Jackie Robinson is someone who is an actual hero. And they actually tried to erase Jackie Robinson among a lot of other people, trying to rewrite history, right? But you can't rewrite history to suit your narrative, right? Because the truth is the truth, regardless of what it is that you write down, right? And in order for us to make any actual changes, right? Imagine a scientist doing some research, right? And then he finds the cure for cancer. He finds the cure for cancer. But in finding the cure for cancer, he then tries to release the cure for cancer uh to or try to give the cure for cancer to a doctor, right? And he's like, hey, listen, this is the cure for cancer. These are the steps. This is what it's proven. I've done this and I've cured these people, and this is the results. And then the doctor says, hold on, wait, no, I don't like that. Let's erase that. No, take this part out, put this part in. Take this away, put this in. And then he tries to cure people and then he's not curing any. And there's a reason why, right? Because there's a formula in order to cure cancer. There's a formula in order to reach this result. This is the formula. But you decide that you're going to implement your own formula. And that's not how these things work. It's not how these things work. You understand what I'm saying? And I really have I really dislike when people do certain things like that. I really dislike it. Don't try to rewrite history. Like tell it exactly how it happened. Right? Tell it like it is. Tell it like it is. Tell it exactly like it is. You know what I mean? So yeah, just a few of the criticisms that I have. And then yeah, let's see if we hear what Bloomberg is saying. I don't know. Let's
Meaning they will be kinder than those countries were to the United States of America. It start with all countries, so let's see what happens. There are many countries. I haven't heard a rumor about 15 countries, 10 or 15.
So you're starting with all countries?
Essentially, all of the countries that we're talking about, we'll be talking about all countries. That's not a cutoff.
So here's the latest this morning. President Donald Trump planning to start his reciprocal tariff push on all countries, tempering hopes that the initial scope could be limited on Wednesday. Henrietta Tracer, Veda Partners, joins us right now for more. Henrietta, let's start with the trillion-dollar question. What happens on April 2nd?
April 2nd at midnight, lots of tariffs start going on. So it's going to be a really long
So
day.
April
We'll
2nd
obviously get
at
the reports
midnight.
from USTR, Commerce.
You heard what she said just now. So April 2nd at midnight, right? So April 2nd at midnight. This is 30 minutes from now actually because it's now 11:30. So now I'm guessing that they're going by Eastern time because obviously the White House is on the East Coast or in the Eastern United States, Washington D.C. So I'm guessing they're going to go off Eastern time. So uh yeah, we're 30 minutes out, right? We're 30 minutes out from Liberation Day. Now, again, a lot of people who are playing the stock market or who are involved in the stock market in some way, shape, or form are actually watching this situation closely. And yeah, it didn't respond too negatively today. So kind of like watching the stock market, like I noticed over the weekend, in particular stocks that I watch, right? That by the time overnight trading started, which is 8 p.m. on Sunday, right? Well, from 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 my perspective anyway. I'm sure like you'll have institutional investors that may be able to do things behind the scenes, right? But from my perspective, right, as a retail sort of investor, I saw where the stocks were down by 8 p.m., right? Down somewhat significantly. And it kind of rolled out into Monday, and stocks were down Monday, and it's clearly a reaction to what people are anticipating is going to happen in 29 minutes now, right? But then today it sort of rebounded a little bit, and the stock market it sort of it bounced up in anticipation of what's going to happen tomorrow. Now, I'm no financial advisor. I don't know how the market is going to react. I don't even know exactly what it is that he's going to say. I don't know if he really is going to implement these tariffs. Maybe they are serious about it. Maybe it's one of those things where he's going to pivot again. However, I do expect there to be some sort of response tomorrow in the stock market, right? But things don't always go how you expect it. And the response may not even be tomorrow. It may be the day after or the following week after, or whatever it is, right? But I don't think these things are going to go over too positively with investors. Um, and someone says this is called stock market correction. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Doug Mark. Yeah, you can call it that. I guess you can call it that.
First, I think there's going to be a lot of advance warning provided by those documents. We have trade agreements with 20 different countries. And I think when the president says we're going to tariff everybody that we're talking about, he means those 20 countries. So I'm expecting to pull out of the phase one China deal or call them out in violation of the deal, which means that all the Section 301 tariffs covering over $350 billion worth of goods from China will go up. I think we're going to see new tariff investigations start on India, for example, pharmaceuticals. I think there's going to be new tariffs under Section 232 and IEEPA across the auto sector. I'm very wary about auto parts. I think that'll be sort of a secondary event that happens in a couple months' time should any of the nations like the EU not come to the negotiating table sufficiently. It takes a long time to get through. There's a lot coming.
Henrietta, what do we see that can happen almost immediately when it comes to IEEPA or 338? Is that going to specific countries or is that going to industries?
IEEPA is specific countries and industries, although Section 232, the national security justification, is really where a lot of the sector-specific items go. Lumber, copper, dairy, things along those lines would be a Section 232 tariff. My biggest concern with any rationale that's not IEEPA or even 338 is that there's no time horizon to take them off. The Section 232 tariffs on steel and aluminum have been in effect for almost 8 years. The Section 301 tariffs against China.
Doug said something just now. He said, funny, tariffs have already created almost $3 trillion of new investments coming to America. Certainly, Doug, you don't mean these new tariffs that have happened. Not these new tariffs. I'm certain of it. Maybe over a period of time, but there's absolutely no way that number that you're saying right now isn't ridiculously inflated, right? Now, I don't know if it's something that you fabricated or someone else fabricated that you believed or that you chose to believe, but that is highly, highly unrealistic, to be completely honest with you, Doug. Highly unrealistic.
Have been in effect for almost 8 years. So once those tariffs come on with a rationale, like the auto investigation that they completed during Trump's first term, those tariffs don't come off. So those are the most pernicious. The IEEPA pieces on Canada and Mexico, for example, theoretically can come off in 3 to 6 months. The others have very serious staying power.
Henrietta, when it comes to how the president is approaching Wednesday, he said we're going to start with all countries. Is that where he's going to end?
That's a fair question. I think we start with about the 20 countries that we have trade agreements with. That's what the agencies have been tasked with doing. But I see the potential for expansion before we see any pullback. So, for example, there's no investigation into India. I mentioned that at the outset. I think we have a lot of issues with India, from trade in pharmaceuticals, genetic drugs, generic drugs, excuse me, the trade in services deficit. Those are all sort of institutional issues that we know USTR Greer had during Trump's first term. And I would expect to see a really long drag to any approach to India. So I think a lot more are going to come on in the next 4 years of Trump's term than necessarily come off. Although Canada and Mexico should be excluded, especially USMCA compliant pieces, that trade deal needs to be re-agreed to by next summer.
We shall see. We shall see. We shall see. We shall see. Are the tariffs placed on U.S. items coming in or going out of the U.S.? Are the tariffs places on items coming in or going out of the US? Well, obviously, look, so obviously tariffs are placed on uh things that we export from other countries, right? Like other countries have tariffs on US goods. US has tariffs on goods that come from other countries as well. Go to block somebody because they make you look bad. Open the message you block so the people can see it. I didn't block anyone. I'm sorry. I got no idea how it works, mate. Thanks. Anyway, guys. Yeah, so we're about 3 minutes away from Liberation Day. um I don't know. I don't really know what to expect. Um I don't. But ultimately, ultimately, I wish the best to every single person that's out there that will be affected by these tariffs, and we'll find a way to get through it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tapping in. I really appreciate you guys. I'm gonna try to come back more often. I'm like transitioning from one department where I work to a different department. So earlier today, I was like, I was outside today. You know what I mean? But it was a really cool, really fun experience. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's something that may happen within the next year or so. And then at that time, I'll have a lot more free time. But kind of going to work late and then coming home late as well, kind of it really prevents me from streaming as much as I would like to. But thank you guys so much. Thank you, Wibby, for tapping in. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, everyone who contributed to the conversation. I really appreciate each and every single one of you guys. Peace out. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.